Well, if we can't, go and dance and move our shoulders, we can at least do it to that music. Uh, Good evening and welcome to the final Q&A of New Filmmakers LA Virtual Film Festival, co-hosted by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. We love you, and powered by Seed and Spark. For those that I haven't met, my name is Danny DeLillo. I have the honor of serving as the board chair of New Filmmakers Los Angeles, and we're all sending you from New Filmmakers a big virtual hug and hope that you've enjoyed this experience with us today. For those who don't know New Filmmakers LA, you should do after this weekend. We're a nonprofit 501c3 organization that provides opportunities like this to the independent film community every single month. It never stops. There's no end of submission date. You can submit anytime. We're always encouraging your stories, your films, your ideas, and welcoming you to our filmmaking community. And with that being said, and I really say this from the bottom of all of our hearts for everybody that is part of New Filmmakers, that we want to acknowledge that New Filmmakers is a really beautiful, safe space for everyone, regardless of where you're from and what's going on. We want to embrace you. We want to welcome you. We're a filmmaking community, and we want to welcome you into our filmmaking family. So if it's your first time, welcome. If you are here again, welcome back. Now, in addition to having the Academy as our presenting partner, how lucky are we in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month? We also like to recognize our academic delegation partners, all who brought 30 plus students and faculty to this weekend's festival lineup. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. We couldn't be here and do it without you. I love how you're encouraging all of your amazing students and students and young people to making sure that they understand and get to know all the greatness from our filmmakers and get to hopefully learn new things. So now, please get ready for those that are part of our students here. I'm gonna want you to make your presence, and you can type this in the chat. I know you're all really, really savvy and you can do this. So as I say the name of your school, drop your school name on the chat. So big, great thank you to Art Center College of Design, ASU Film Spark, CSU Dominguez Hills, CSU Fullerton, CSU Long Beach, CSU Los Angeles, CSU Northridge, Chapman University, Dodge College, Emerson College, LA, Hussein College, LA, LA City College, Mount St. Antonio College, New York Film Academy, Occidental College, Los Angeles Film School, UCA Latin American Film Institute, UCLA TFT, USC School of Cinematic Arts. We thank you, thank you for being part of all of this wonderful weekend. As well as our school students, faculty, and alumni for joining to celebrate the incredible Latinx voices and for participating in professional development opportunities that are taking place as part of this program. We thank you all. We really want you to walk away this weekend with new insight and relationships. We're in such a time right now where we're unable to do that, and that's why we wanted to make sure we continue to do that in the best way that we can. So hopefully we have done that, and we want to thank the leaders at your institutions for spearheading these amazing delegations that we have. I'd also like to give a shout out to all of the community collaborators you see on the screen. There's a lot. They all connect with us in some way. Please find out more, because they really are pivotal to what we do at New Filmmakers. So thank you for your incredible partnership. And of course, a big round of applause to our industry delegation members and moderators. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you saw the incredible people that we have from this program, if you go to nfmla.org, we had some amazing people who have been part of this incredible last few days. So thank you very much. And without our amazing sponsors at New Filmmakers LA, it would not be possible. So I'd like to take you into understanding a moment of all of our sponsors that help us out throughout the year. Now, these again are people that we hope that you connect with in some way, because they're interested in us and interested in you. So a big thank you to obviously our co-host, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and especially to Bettina Fisher, Tracy Dillon, and Ama Jamara. And we'd also like to say that obviously we are virtual this year, but we want to say a big, big thank you to all the Academy Theatre staff, and we miss you, and hopefully we'll return in person next year. Our monthly venue host, yes, we're not a virtual film festival, the wonderful 500-seater at the South Park Center. So I want to say a big thank you to them and its parent company, LBA Realty. Executive Circle sponsors, Film LA and Warner Media 150. Producer Circle sponsors, BBH and HBO. Director Circle sponsors, Sony Pictures Entertainment, Wells Fargo, Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, and Black Magic Design. Our debut sponsors, Creative Artists Agency, City National Bank, Los Feliz Neighborhood Council, and POV. Our foundation sponsors include the Los Angeles Department of Cultural Affairs, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce Community Foundation, the LA County Department of Arts and Culture, the California Arts Council, Sundance Institute, and Bank of California, and also our media partner who I work with, Screen International. Now, this has been the end of a wonderful day, and I hope that you have all enjoyed the program thus far. I'm so delighted we have the filmmakers right here, right now. And let me tell you, we're in the green room, and they are not only really talented, but they're just a super bunch of human beings. So I'm really glad that they're all here with you as well. So this is how it's going to go. I'm going to be quiet soon. And I'm going to pass over to our wonderful, wonderful friend from the Hollywood Foreign Press Association who's going to be moderating. Before that takes place, let me just go run down what's going on. We're going to have a moderated interview with all the filmmakers to begin with, probably 15 minutes to 30 minutes or so. And then once that happens, we're going to pass you over to our audience. Now, there are several different ways in which you can engage to ask a question to one of our filmmakers. You can use the raise your hand feature that's on there right now. I know you're all experienced by now probably what that looks like. And that will signify to a new filmmakers member that you want to ask a question. So be sure if that's how you want to do it, make sure your video, we will unmute you when it's your question, your time. We'll let you know when that question is. You can also type in the chat, or you can also do it through audio as well. So we look forward to that. Now, the other thing is that we obviously don't get a chance to meet each other in person. And that's really essentially what we try to do every single month. So we have this great thing, I know I'm sure some of you have been part of before, which is Attendee Connect. The filmmakers, we encourage you to stay, but you don't feel you don't have to. But what's going to happen, there's going to be the moderated led moderated question and answer session, then over to our audience. And then after that, we're going to have this thing called Attendee Connect, which is a chance for you to put out into breakout rooms. It's really cool. You'll be sifted out into these breakout rooms, and you'll get a chance to actually meet each other like you're real person, you know, like how we used to do things. So in that time, you'll get a 5-minute breakout room, okay? And we encourage you, it's going to come up on the screen right now, just to kind of state a few things. So your name, what you do and what you aspire to do, one resource you can offer, and one resource that you're seeking. So you'll get 5 minutes in each room. We'll probably do about 3. And then we'll get a 60-second warning before. So make sure when you're in your room, keep it short and sweet. And if there's any information you want to share with the people that you're in, you can type in the chat if you want to stay connected with each other as well. I am going to say in advance, because it's happened all the way through the last 2 panels. For any filmmakers that are filmmakers here right now that are part on our panel and have films in this panel, just state your website or your handles in which we can kind of connect with you about your film and all your projects. So just kind of keeping that in as well. So we have a very, very special guest who is moderating, and I'm so happy to welcome our wonderful moderator, journalist, and member of the Golden Globes Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Please welcome Gabriel Lerman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to these wonderful new filmmakers. And what I will do is I will go one by one, asking them a few questions. I want to congratulate them all. They all have done a wonderful job. And so let's start with Miguel Angel Caballero from Mexico and the United States, who just won an award for his feature Acuitzeramo, which is the town where you grew up, right?
Yes, Acuitzeramo is actually the name of the town that I grew up in. And yeah, I was struggling with the title, but I decided to keep it. It means it's part Spanish and part the indigenous language there, which is Purépecha. So it means the serpent will be king. And I think it was very fitting because from a spiritual context, I feel like the character Salvador starts transforming the town, and a serpent in a spiritual context is kind of leaving the past behind or rebirth. So I kept it. It's hard to pronounce, but I'm glad I kept it.
And one of the big surprises in your short is Sal Lopez, who has a long career in Hollywood, usually we don't see established actors in short. So can you tell us, how did you get this cast?
So I really wanted to, I've been working with Sal for years. He's in the Latino Theater Company, and I collaborate a lot with the Latino Theater Company. So I've known him for years. I've done plays with them. We've worked in theater. And initially the role wasn't for him because it had to be someone much older. And I tried to work with a casting director in Mexico City, and it just didn't really work. And then, you know, as I'm sitting down with my co-producer, I was like, dude, we know talented actors. Let's just ask Sal. So I sent him the script and I said, it has to be older than what you are. So, you know, do you think you could do it? And I think he did a great job. And now, you know, looking back, I can't imagine anybody else playing that role. He was amazing in it.
And also, I love the subject that you touch in your short, which is being gay and old in a society that doesn't accept homosexuality as they should. So can you tell, why did you choose that subject?
So like I mentioned, Gabriel, I grew up in the town of Acuitzeramo, and I remember when I was growing up, I would see these older folks that were never married, and I would question why. And, you know, people would say, oh, they just never found anybody. They never found anybody. And older folks in these small, you know, towns, pueblos in Mexico. And, you know, as I came to accept myself as a queer man, as I started embracing who I was, I started reflecting and thinking, is it really that they never found anybody, or were they not able to love the person they wanted freely? So, you know, these small towns are usually very Catholic heavy. These are conversations that are not easily had. It's really hard to have these conversations in these small towns. So then my idea started going from there, wondering, you know, what would happen if somebody was actually gay in this town? Like, how would they be? And that's, you know, and the result is Acuitzeramo. I kind of just snowballed from there.
Okay, love your film. Thank you so much. Kate.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Romero from Chronology. Kate, are you there?
Hi.
Yes, congratulations on your short. So it has a very complex idea behind it. Can you tell us, how did you develop this idea of meeting yourself at your younger age?
So I have to give the credit for that story to my star, Valerie Hurt, who is also the writer. I said she's a very talented actor, as you could see from the movie, and we've known each other for many years. And I said, let's work on a movie together so I can direct you. And she wrote the script, and we worked together to develop it over the course of maybe a year, just because we were both working on other stuff. And I just loved working on it because it was such a complex story and it had a lot of challenges. So I love learning new things and overcoming new challenges. And so I felt like, I don't know, I'm just kind of nervous, actually.
Can you talk about casting the younger girl? Because she should look like her, but not so much. So can you talk about that?
Yes, actually, that was, so Ava is a very talented actress that I've also known for a long time. And Valerie also has known her for a long time. And we just felt like, so Valerie and Ava know each other in real life, and they had a connection. And we just felt, and Valerie said to me, you know, Ava I looked like more like Ava when I was younger. And they had such a great chemistry because they're both very smart actors. And so we, you know, Valerie and I were just excited to have Ava on board.
Mm-hmm. And from the science fiction angle, which was the most challenging part of the story?
Oh, keeping the rules straight. You know, it was my first scripted piece. I've done some music videos before and things like that, but of course I had to choose something very complicated for my first story. So Valerie and I spent a lot of time talking to friends and my producing partner, who's my husband, just trying to keep our rules straight and keep just to get our language of that world down so that we could work within those parameters.
Mm-hmm. And if you met your own 16-year-old version, what you will tell yourself?
Oh, I would tell her to be even bolder and go after for what she wants even sooner. Because I think it's common for many of us, especially for women, we tend to be very malleable and not go after our goals in a very direct way. And we always are trying to help other people. And I just recently in the last 10 years started being more aggressive about going after my goals and thinking about what they really were. So that's what I would say to myself.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Kate. And now we will go to John with Manzanal. John, are you there?
I'm here, Gabriel.
Oh, congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
brief but shocking story. And not too many people are aware of this massacre. Why do you think it was important to find a way to remind them of what happened?
I think for me it was my mother's story. My mother's from El Salvador. She left during the war with Honduras that happened. It was called the Soccer Wars. Mm-hmm. And a lot of my family, they split their time between here and there. And I met so many people throughout my life that didn't know about who was behind the war. Mm-hmm. Right? And we tend to not really think about who was behind the war, whose money was going to these wars, to fund these wars. And I remember reading The Massacre del Mozote from Richard Donner, who that taught me about Rufina Amaya, the first known survivor. And she, from that point, became like my patron saint. I carried her with me. I thought of my mom every time. I thought about, what am I going to do with my life? Someday I got to tell this story. And I had the opportunity to do so. I met a lot of Latinx millennials from El Salvador, from Guatemala, from Nicaragua, who were all a part of this situation that happened during the 80s and 90s, where the CIA just pumped a bunch of money into these death squads, and they were going around just massacring innocent people. And we, that generation that came from our parents who fled from there, are carrying that trauma with us. We carry that fear with us inside of our bones. It's in our epigenetic coding now. And I felt like this story was a story that I wanted to tell, and I wanted to make sure that Rufina's story got told. And the best part about this film for me was the 11 other Latinx millennials that I got to share that space with, mm-hmm. and know each other in those moments and talk to each other. That didn't make it into the film, but that's for me. I took those therapy sessions with me, and I'm going to cherish that forever. And I think that's why that film had to be made for me.
Did they know about this?
No, not one of them.
Wow.
Yeah. So we held each other, we cried. This was pre-COVID. And you know, it was just a very special place for me that I'm never gonna, you know, this is all great and I love that I'm here, but that was everything for me that time. Yeah.
And how do you think this changed them?
Yeah, a lot of us, we walked away with it. What it does, I think, is it enables us, or at least it gives us a little bit of courage to say that I don't have to not talk about this anymore. And maybe I can talk to my parents about this some more. You know, I think that little step alone is enough. That starts to kind of move the trajectory a little bit. And we don't have to be that person on the bus that just is, you know, depressed and can't talk about it. You know, we can now know we can talk about it. We can other people know about this, and I think that's important.
John, thank you so much. And now I will go to Gabriela Ortega with Papi. And Gabriela, where are you?
Hi, Gabriel, I'm here.
Hi, how are you? So your story is, you know, is very surprising. How can you make a story with something so normal as going to the beach with your dad? Can you tell us how this idea, because also you filmed this year, right?
Yeah, this was pre-COVID, like January, I think 10 or something like that. It was one of the first times I went to the beach in the new year, actually, in Dominican Republic. What's funny is that, so my dad has taken this hobby in the last 5 years of overlanding, which is when you basically go off-roading into sort of like challenging roads, and you do it with like a car that's kind of pimped out. So he has like this very unmissable 4x4. And you know, at first I would make fun of him because I was like, what are you doing? And then he would take me with him, and because I don't live in Dominican Republic anymore and I'm in LA, and it's such a great way for us to bond. And you know, I get to be a tourist in my own country almost. The thing with my dad is that he is really like in the film. He's not shy at all. He does have more followers than me on Instagram, so he's very comfortable around a camera. So around this time, I have like hours of footage of this big road trip we did together. But I remember that particular day, we had a fight the day before, and I didn't want to go to the beach. And then we went, and it was such a magical, sort of beautiful day. Like, you don't see the stuff about the fight in the film, but you see sort of like why we have such a great relationship. And honestly, I just wanted to shoot something, and it was very organic. So I was happy that it was also surprising for me as a filmmaker to go through it.
But when you were filming it, you knew that you were making a movie, or that came after when you were missing your dad?
I knew that I wanted to make a film of our road trips. I didn't know what it would look like. To be honest, I did it all on my phone, surprisingly enough. Sorry to all the analog film fans. I filmed it all on my iPhone XR. So to all the students out there, you can make a movie with your phone. And like, it can be a good movie. And I did it with just, I knew I wanted to make something. I thought it was gonna be a YouTube blog, but I'm not a YouTube person. And then I like started putting some filters on it and some apps that you can do like the analog feel. And yeah, I felt like a phony at first, but then it looked really good. So I was like, great, I don't even have to color correct this. So yeah, go for it, honestly. And then, you know, it came together in that I had an idea of what I wanted. I wanted it to feel like a diary entry. And then with my editor, we did it in the first week of the pandemic. So that was such a cathartic way of feeling like I'm missing my family. I want to go home. I can't. And so we did it over like screen share Zoom. And now we have a film.
Okay, thank you so much for showing how we can make a movie with an iPhone. And Fernanda from Chile with Undocumented.
Hello.
Hi, Fernanda. Okay, so you are, in your movie, you are showing a very real situation for many families in the United States where you cannot travel, even if you desperately need it. So how, you have been here for 2 years, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yes, yes.
So how you came with this idea?
Well, this idea came from my mom. Actually, she's watching Hola Mamá y Familia. My mom was an immigrant here for almost 10 years, since I was 4 years old. So it was really hard. I'm her only child. And because of like her breaking the rules, because she actually just wanted to make a better life for me. Now, after she got back to Chile 13 years ago, she got like punished. So after 10 years, she wasn't supposed to like enter this country. But has been 13 years since the last time that she was there. And until this day, she can't come to this country still. So one day I was thinking about like all of the immigration and a lot of like, I don't know, people sometimes just like feel like the immigrants, they just like leave their country because they want, and it's not easy to leave your family behind. That's the hardest thing ever. So coming with that, I thought like, what happened if something happens to me here? What my mom would do? And that's how like the idea of the story came. And then I came up with this whole concept that also like seeing other parts of my family helped me a lot to see like this situation.
Mm-hmm. And your characters, one is from Colombia, the other is from Mexico. Why you wanted to show how a Latino family can
because I mean, I feel like I don't have to stick with one country. I feel like when we talk about like Latin Americans living here, a lot of Latin Americans can feel the same, that they are coming here not for like the American dream, but actually because the pay is good, and they can maintain their family over there and also maintain their life here. And I don't think that that's a situation with just one country, with just Mexico or just like Chile. It's plenty, every Latin American countries like that way.
Mm-hmm. And talk about casting your actors.
Oh,
how was that?
That was amazing. When we post the casting call with my producer, we have just like 2 days of casting. And the first day I found Michael, that is the dad, and then Victoria. And then the next day I found Carolina. And the hardest part here is like, I wasn't just like finding the lead character, I was finding a family. Mm-hmm. And when I just got them and see them and I felt like they are great, I want them together. We went for coffee. And after that, I was like, okay, this is my family. This is the Gomez family. And I can't be happier with them.
Mm-hmm. Fernanda, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to Sebastián Torres Green and Manuel del Valle from Mexico with Nahum, if I'm pronouncing it right.
That is correct, Gabriel. Nice to meet you.
That is correct. Hello, Gabriel.
Nice to meet you. So in your movie, you are going to pre-Hispanic time with a made-up language, I guess, right? What was that? Explain to me how you created that world that we haven't seen.
Yes, I mean, it was, even though this story is a drama that takes place in pre-Hispanic times, and even though we created a language and a culture, in a way, even the story is something that is very universal, which is a family getting destroyed from within. From the themes, we kind of evolved into what the language and the culture was going to be. We wanted to make sure that there was a story that talked about the human ego, because as you know, this journey starts to become a tragedy when the egos and obsessions of their male members rise to the surface. So Sebastián and I decided to go for culture that we could experiment with, that we could be conscious about not getting too much inspiration from a culture that existed or a culture that is historic. So that's when we started the journey. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about creating the language and the production designers and the custom designers, Sebastián.
Yeah, so at first we were going with Nahuatl. The script was written in Spanish and the first translation was in Nahuatl. But the main thing was we didn't want to misrepresent that culture. You know, we wanted to have creative control over it. And that was very cool because that gave us, I don't know, we could change everything and it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And with the actors, we worked with a very talented casting director in Mexico City. And I mean, it's very challenging for them that they didn't know the language to practice in about like 4 months. So I really remember a moment when we did the first rehearsal with them. I mean, they were extremely talented. So we were reading the script in Spanish, and then they dropped the script, and they were already talking in the language, and that was extremely amazing, because we felt that, okay, it's gonna work, because we were afraid, you know. It was our first time, and it's very challenging.
Mm-hmm. And how do you guide them on the tone when they are speaking a language that doesn't exist? You know?
If I could jump in on this, we talked a lot about the cultural elements from the culture that we created, and we started talking a lot about, of course, we wanted to make sure that they had the liberty to focus on the beats and focus on the narrative and what the characters were thinking. So we gave them a lot of liberty of exploring the language and the tone of when they speak as they felt comfortable. So it was, I would believe that it was a process where the actors became a very important part of the process of how the language sounds, because even though the tone of the words is very inspired by nature sounds, aggressive nature sounds, they were able to bring something of their own, and that was very impressive. Mm-hmm. The culture is informed by the themes. As you can see, the bigger the antlers of the mask, the more hierarchy the characters had. So every aspect in the production design and the language was translated from a place from theme, which is the egos and obsessions of these male characters.
Mm-hmm. Sebastián and Manuel, thank you so much. Your work was impressive. And now I'm going to go to Gustavo Ribeiro, the director of the only animated short, Napo. Gustavo, are you there?
I am here.
Yes. Okay, so it seems very complicated to create that world. Can you talk the behind the scenes, how it was to create the characters and to create a world where they can move?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, because our movie is placed in a really simple set, like a house, and we don't leave the house for the whole movie. But the production of the movie was quite complex, and like we do with animation, we have to make everything from scratch. And so the design was really important. Working in animation, we have something that we call shape language. We have to figure it out, the shape language from the scratch. Like you see Grandpa Napo, you see that he's a square. You see John, you see that is a circle. You see all those elements, and also the colors, how we choose each color, how the character dressing will change from the beginning of the movie to the middle, how their colors will start to match when they start to see one in each other in the movie. When John starts to see that he has more from scratch, and you have to wait and say in that way. I can't talk with the actor and talk with them, oh, you can act in this other way. No, everything in animation is nailed in storyboard. If we fail with the storyboard, we fail with the animation, because the digital puppet can't do a different acting. So it's really hard and really painful, but also it's a really decision. It's a process driven by decision, because I cannot make covers, coverture to be more safe with my view of the movie. I have to choose what shots do I want, what type of acting do I want, and I have to stick with this. So the prep in animation is really important.
Mm-hmm. And the story is really touching, and there is so many families that have to deal with this problem of a grandfather who is no longer recognizing anything. Why you wanted to talk about that?
One point that I really important to us was about, I come from a fine art background, and in my fine art school, I discovered that we cannot perceive things and enjoy art from just one sense. We enjoy art as a whole from all the senses. We usually think that we just see and hear things, but we wanted to talk about memories and about not recognizing people. But our main point on the movie was that we are trying to talk about the different ways that we can build memory, not the linear one, like you can feel a smell and you can remember the day and the people that you were while you were eating that food. So we want to show that memories can be built to different paths. But the point in common for these different paths was being present, being together, being at the site. Because when we talk with those families and we start to research this case, we see that actually what happened was quite the opposite. Because, oh, my grandpa was not recognizing me anymore. So I lose that connection that I have with them, and I lose that memories that I had with them. So, but there is also the memory of the touch, the memory of being at the side of the people. And this can also bring memories. So we really wanted to talk about how art can be a powerful tool to bring the memories of that grandpa and build a relationship between John and his grandpa.
And my last question is, you choose not to use language in the movie. Why they are silent? Why? I mean, we hear that television, that's the only language that you guys have there. Why you went that way?
I think he froze.
Yeah, okay.
Let's wait for it though. It's gonna be worth it. He's been saying these incredible things, so let's wait for it.
All right. All right.
There is
two
things for.
So Gustavo, do you mind repeating? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're back now. You're
back.
Good. All right. Cool.
So, though the thing about the language was, there was two things that were really important to me. It's about me making our animation accessible to everyone, but there is also a really personal story, because my grandma, she cannot read. She's not educated. So I really wanted to do something that she was able to see and perceive without the barrier of language.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your words. I think you all have wonderful careers ahead of you. So I'm looking forward to meet you at the Golden Globes when you make your features. And yeah, we need more Latins in the Golden Globes for sure. So let's go for it. Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you, it was a pleasure.
Awesome. So we're going to turn it to the audience. Just a couple reminders. Number one, please one question only. There's quite a few people who want to ask a question, so only one, so everyone can ask. And two, and I can't believe this is the last time I'm saying this weekend, but please do not pitch a movie idea. It's not the time to pitch. Just don't do it. I'm muting you. Just don't do it. So first up, we have Sarah from New York Film Academy. Sarah, I'm going to ask to unmute you right now.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm studying documentary filmmaking at New York Film Academy. My question is for Sebastian and Manuel. When you're making a film where you're building an entire world, how do you approach that differently in the development stage than if you were building, if you were creating a more traditional film that was maybe rooted in more present reality?
Do you want to start, Sebastian? I can jump in.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. we basically started to capture or to imagine how these people were, you know. We wanted like a culture where they are very responsive, and they are very like you know, responsive to actions. We started doing like drawings and sketches, and we had to picture everything. The thing that really helped us was going to the location first, because we said, okay, here is where they live. And with Mario, he's the art director, he captured with photos the trees and the kind of colors they see and what they hear. So that really inspired the language and the things they were using.
I would agree with Sebastian. I would say that the most funny thing that I ever experienced during location scouts is, I remember where we were going back to sleep after the first day of location scout, and I suddenly see the production designer and the custom designer dragging a gigantic bag full of rocks, full of wood, full of different materials that were in the location. And we had long chats with all of these materials, and we started thinking not only about how they would dress, but we started thinking about how these materials could fit into the themes that we're trying to say, you know? So my advice, I guess, would be, first of all, always think about theme first, because that's the thing that will enrich it the most. But I'm a big fan of believing that you discover a film, you don't make it. I'm a big fan of believing that if you have a theme that you stick to, but you let elements from the outside influence that idea, it'll start to reveal itself to you as well. You know, trusting people, that's the biggest thing I would say. And these artists were just incredible to trust. Thank you for the question.
Awesome. Next up, we have Juliana from Cal State Long Beach. I'm going to ask to unmute you.
Hi, everybody. Such a good work. I love all the films. And I watched Manuel's and Sebastian's films twice already, and I loved it every time I see it. This question is for Miguel Angel. So the question is that I love seeing a lot of the films are actually like using folklorico in their films. Since I've danced folklorico since I was 4 years old, I'm very familiar with it. I've danced Danza de los Viejitos, and I love it. So my question is that, do you have like a reason why you add it? Because I know Danza de los Viejitos can represent like the old god and so many things. So what's your reference to that? I would love to know that.
So I'm doing a trilogy of films. The first one was Broken Sunflower Hearts, Acuitzaramos the next one, and then there's a third one, and they're all connected through a dance. And initially, I didn't know how the dance was going to be. I thought that the older gentleman would dance with his partner's son, but it just wasn't working, and it felt weird. So the La Danza de los Viejitos, as you know, it's from Michoacán. And what it is, it's usually, it used to be performed only by shamans, and it is the dance that they would do to bring the spirit from the physical world into the spiritual world when somebody died. So I use them kind of intercutting, and they pretty much are taking the father away, but he's not ready to leave until he knows that they're gonna be okay and they made peace. And that's when they dance and they kind of lead his spirit out into the spiritual world.
It makes sense that, oh my God, I didn't know about that spirit connection. I've never really learned that. Thank you for the information and the insight. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, Juliana.
Okay. Next up, we have Marina from New York Film Academy. I'm going to unmute you right now.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, guys. Thank you all so much for coming here and talking to us. And first of all of your movies were phenomenal, incredible. So deeply moving, each and every single one of you, literally amazing, amazing. But my question is specifically for the movies that touched upon subjects that can be very hard or very dangerous to discuss with specificity of Manzanal. Were you ever afraid? Were you ever afraid of what might happen if you divulge the story, if you talk about the story? Because, I mean, we went through a dictatorship too in Brazil for 20 years that was done by the CIA, done by the American military, and they took our democracy. But like till this day, my parents are like, don't talk about it. because like we fled from it. Don't talk about it. It's dangerous. So do you ever did you have any fear? Did you think that that could come back on you, or was it just, I need to tell this story and I don't care what happens? Like, did that question come up?
Wow. Yeah, that question. That's rough. Thank you, Marina. I really appreciate that. I think, yeah, I mean, I grew up with undocumented parents, you know, and my mom was very gripped by the fear of El Salvador, the fear of government coming to get us, coming to take the kids, the fear of don't tell anybody that you're this or that, don't tell anybody that you're that. That kind of permeated itself in my household. I, unfortunately, because of that, had a very averse reaction to that. I grew up very punk rock, let's say. And I hated being afraid of things, and I hated that my mom was afraid of things, and this set me on a path to try to understand why my mom was so afraid of things. The film I made prior to Manzanal was about trying to discuss this with my mother. It's called Sombras. Manzanal for me was another step in that direction. I'm literally chasing and figuratively chasing after these ghosts, these fears that my mother raised me with, and I'm trying to find the root of them. And yeah, I mean, there's a part of me that is fearful. Yeah, of course, it's the CIA, and you know, they literally ruined the careers, or not ruined, for a moment they ruined the careers of several journalists who came out and spoke against their influence in these wars. Alma Guillermo Prieto should be recognized as one of the leading journalists who found this and had her career taken away from her for like a decade because the United States government, the Reagan administration, like just blasphemed her, just made her look, called her a communist, called her all kinds of things, made her job fire her, made her editor fire her. But I think for me, I can't have those fears. My mother had those fears. I can't have those fears. I look at someone like Rufina Amaya, who, after surviving this massacre, went back to her village,
right,
and rebuilt it, helped rebuild that village. She stayed there for decades, rebuilding the village that was destroyed, the village where her children were murdered. If I have the fear to not make these stories or not tell these truths, it's like, it's almost a travesty that me knowing what I know, I can't look at myself and know that Rufina Amaya, who survived what she survived and went back and tried to rebuild it, had the courage to do what she did. I wouldn't be able to make the films that I want to make, you know. And so, yeah, the fear is there, but, you know, our parents, our grandparents, you know, our aunties and our uncles, they survived a fear bigger than that. I'm just making a movie. And so, yeah, I appreciate you asking that question, though. You know, I really do.
Thank you so much for answering.
Great. Next up, we have Ahmed from New York Film Academy as well. I'm going to ask to unmute you.
Yeah, Marina almost asked the same question. I was going to go with Gustavo for rendering, but now I got to ask it. So everybody knows about this game like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and they kind of changed an incident that actually took place, the Highway of Death. All the coalition, French, Americans, and the British, they had an intel that there was this like a truck full of like, you know, terrorists that was escaping that area, and they bombed the hell out of that area, killed civilians, children. And after that, what game depicts the event as, and there was no target even there. The journalism people like bombed that game like for, you know, misinterpreting the history. So if you get like you know, some sort of you know, information with Hollywood movies and CNN putting a puff piece how American heroes have, you know, like defeated terrorists, while, you know, it was the Russians who defeated ISIS and everything, while America was throwing weapon crates for them, and then saying, oh no, these were for the rebels. How do you deal with that? How do you like fight these people who put fake information out there?
Was that for me, Ahmed?
Yep, sorry.
I just want to make sure I don't want to talk over if someone. I think, you know, here's what I've thought about this for a little bit, and you're right. You're absolutely right. This isn't the only war. This isn't the only situation where the CIA has done some shady, you know, shit. I'm sorry, I'm going to say shit. And what I want to say is the reality is, during the Salvadoran Civil War, let's speak specifically on that, about 16 journalists were killed or assassinated trying to tell the story that you know, Rufina Maya survived to tell. This is a story that now we can just Google search. It would be a travesty. It would be a stain on the lives of those journalists that risked their lives if all of us didn't do our due diligence and learn about these stories and hold our government and the CIA and the feds accountable for the atrocities that they've committed in the past and the atrocities that they continue to commit. So I just think about that. I think about the people who, like the Hollywood Foreign Press, you guys have people, the journalists who risk their lives on a daily basis just to say the truth. Just to say the truth. That is the most important thing that we need to remember. All they're doing is saying the truth, and they're dying for it, and their jobs are being taken away from them for it. So it's incumbent upon us to constantly seek the knowledge out. It's not a conspiracy theory. Just look what's not in the history books. Look up, read things, read our research our government, research the CIA. It doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make us non-patriotic. What it makes us is more informed, so that we can build a better patriot, so that we can build a better nation, you know, where we are. I think that's the most important part. Don't let these people die in vain, you know. Stay on top of it, for sure.
It's amazing. Next up is Vincent from Cal State Long Beach. So Vincent, I'm going to ask to unmute you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you again for kind of sharing your films with us. What a way to spend a Saturday night. Honestly, all these films were just truly beautiful. So I'm very blessed to be able to experience all of them. My question is actually for Manuel and Sebastian about your guys' film. I've always been interested in the world building process and creating your own universes, writing your own rules and all that. So my question is about, like, when trying to create a world like that where you're writing your own rules, how do you ensure that it is properly translated, or like your audience understands what's happening if it's not something that necessarily exists in reality? How do you get them to actually understand the rules that you've created?
I guess I'm going to jump in first on this, Sebastian. So when we were discussing about the film, we were trying to always write from the perspective of a universal story. What does that mean? That the blueprint of the film it's something that could be happening in present time. The idea of a family crumbling from within. So I guess my conclusion would be that maybe while writing a story, the steps that the characters take, usually if they come from a place of truth, they become universal, even though you adorn around the piece, you know? From our perspective, it's a very Shakespearean story. It's in a way simple. It's two males fighting for the future of this female character in the family. And when the egos arise, it starts crumbling from within. So I guess the whole world building of the mask, when they put the mask, is to cover the fact that they fear. Like I said, it's built from a place of theme, you know? Letting collaborators ask you questions as a director or as a writer is vital, right, Sebastian? I remember that the makeup designers and the guys from costume were constantly asking us questions. I think you can add something to that, right, Sebastian?
Yeah, Vincent, thank you very much for your question. I would say you can put layers and layers of things that create your world, but never forget the inner core of your story. I mean, in a home, it's very simple. It's just a family breaking into pieces. So yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. That answered my question perfectly. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent.
Great. Looks like we have time for just 2 more questions from the audience. So next up is going to be Martin from Cal State Long Beach also. So Martin, I'm going to unmute you.
Hey, thank you guys, everybody. I want to congratulate everybody on their films today. They were all really spectacular. And so my question today is for Miguel, actually. I just wanted to ask, like, I'm very interested in the world of like Hispanic and Latinx storytelling, as well as telling LGBT QIA plus stories as well. So I was wondering, like, what was your process going into this your short film?
The process of production or creating it, or writing it?
I guess just setting everything into place, and why did you specifically go for this story?
So like I mentioned before, I grew up in that town, and the story was sparked from my experience of having known that there was gay elders that could have been gay. Like in my family, it's something that you don't talk about. My family is very Mexican, very Catholic, and this is like a very touchy subject. I've had, like, you know, a godfather that at 60 realized he was gay, and he had a family and kids, and, you know, and he divorced finally. So most of my work deals with LGBTQIA experience here in the US. And although I wanted to tell this story in Mexico, I also wanted to have a younger person that goes, because I also wanted to tackle the sort of generation gap that exists between our elders and the youth, basically. So I wanted to see if, you know, if through love and compassion, this bridge or this gap would close between these two strangers with only one thing in common. So that's kind of what I wanted to explore, and that was a process of figuring out how to bring these two complete strangers together, and can they love each other because they have one thing in common, his father and his partner. And yeah, it's not a very common story. I haven't seen many. They do exist where they have gay elders, but especially in a pueblo, I had never really seen that. And I didn't want to make it take place only in Mexico, because I actually grew up in both sides. So I wanted it to be a Mexican American and have somebody from the US go and have that experience. I'm sorry, did I answer your question? I feel like I ranted.
Yeah, you kind of did. So like what was your experience doing this?
The experience filming it, it was great. I was very, very lucky. We were on a very low budget. Usually in all my productions, what I do is I have a shadow mentoring program where I reach out to schools in underserved communities, and I bring them on board on set, because as I was growing up, I never got that opportunity. I didn't have any connections of anybody on film. So I really want to open up to a mentoring thing. So I've done that in every project that I do. I bring kids on set and they shadow the director or the actors. But in Mexico, it was a little bit different. I actually brought students on board from a university in Morelia to actually put them in leading roles, because I had no money to hire people in those departments. So the shadowing program in this film specifically became more of like putting these students in leading roles and script supervising, assistant director, production managers. And I kind of sat with them a couple days before, and I went through the entire process of familiarizing them of what it was and how to do the work. And I mentored in a different way. So the experience was just absolutely wonderful.
Cool. Thank you so much, Miguel.
Thank you, Martin.
Perfect. And we got one more question, and that's going to fall to Alex from New York Film Academy. So Alex, let's make it good.
All right. Thank you for New Filmmakers LA and also the Academy to put all this on board. My question is for the women directors. So for Kate, Gabriella, and Fernanda, really appreciate you guys in your film. My question is, what challenges did you face, just being female and trying to go through the process of making your film, and what challenges that you feel that you had to go through that you feel like a male filmmaker would not have to go through in regards to the process?
Who wants to start? Kate?
So I actually felt like I didn't have any issues around that, to be honest, on this particular set. But I think it's because I was a photographer for many years, and I've been on film sets for many years. And most of the people on our crew were friends of me and my husband. So I didn't have any of that. So I was really lucky. I worked really hard though. I really prepped a lot more deeply than I think maybe some people do. I was very meticulous in my prep, so that I had an answer for every question that could be asked. So I actually didn't have any of that experience. So I was really lucky, I think.
Do you want to go, Fernanda, or do you want me to go? Well, I'll go. Well, my dad was very nice. No, I'm kidding. It was super fun. Again, I think I'll go opposite from Kate. I had no idea, and I had a blast. And I think sometimes, as not just a woman, but anyone, you can have no idea and just go for it, why not? Unless you have like a huge budget and people are counting on you, then do have ideas. But I guess I think any woman filmmaker should feel twice as confident as any man, I think, because I know that sometimes I've been on sets where people think I'm a PA. It happens. And just know that if you are twice as confident and you stand in your power, then you can do anything. Again, like for this one that like was so organic, I really just went for it. For others, yes, shout out to Kate and Fernanda, like those films are fully scripted and incredible. So like, and to with the hope of like, we don't have to ask the question anymore, right? Like hopefully soon enough, that question is obsolete, but thank you, Alex. And also shout out to the chat. You're all so supportive to each other. I love it.
Okay, so in my case, I'm gonna start with the challenge that it wasn't because I was a woman, it was because of money. In that semester, I didn't have to pay for my tuition and I didn't have to pay for the film. Some way, somehow I managed, but it was a really extremely low budget film. But here is where women came around. The heads of the department, I have Mitali, my producer. She's like the best producer that I can ever have. And when he said Pamela, my DP, we can sit down and talk and we just understand each other. And then I have Amy, that she's my first AD, and she just makes everything happen with Mitali. Like they just do things. And what I'm gonna say is like, in the situation that I was, no having like money, like I was like figuring my life out, I have these 3 powerful and amazing women by my side that they helped me to give this film. So in this case, it's not a challenge. It's like women empower women. And again, like without them, this couldn't have happened. So it's just like a big shout for women that can make everything. And also not just like because of like feminists, but also men, but sometimes when we are women, sometimes you have like this, like probably you can't do as much, but we can do whatever we want. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but thank you for asking that.
Great. That's the last question of the Q&A. So Danny, do you have some words? Looks like you have some words.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for this TED Talk. of filmmaking, because that's really what it evolved into. My goodness me, what an honor to spend Saturday night with you amazing filmmakers. Thank you to Gabriel, who gave a wonderful moderation, and thank you for everything you do at the HFPA. We really appreciate you. And thank you to all of our audience, all of our budding next generation filmmaking talent. Your questions leave us feeling like there's a lot of fantastic hope for the future of our industry, and you are the game changers. So we're looking forward to seeing your successes. But a big round of applause to all of our filmmakers, because we wouldn't be here without them. Like really, really, really. I want to thank Gabriel, as I mentioned, Lerman, who for moderating with us, and welcome, and hope you'll do many more with us. Thank you to all of our filmmakers. Thank you for all of our amazing students and alumni and members. It's such an honor to have you all here with us. And I know it's so hard because you all want to just, share the love with each other, but I really felt it through our channels of what we create. So thank you all for your lovely, lovely questions and your obviously amazing films.